Now, if you were to tell me that of all the states that would state outright they are keeping Trump on the ballot in 2024, California would not be my first pick. In fact, it'd probably be like my 46th pick, considering we've already seen a couple states remove him. But yeah, after Colorado and Maine, you would think, California would immediately jump to, perfect, that's precedent, let's get rid of Trump. And no, in a shocking twist of fate, they've stated they're going to, abide by the law. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and we're going to get into what the Secretary of the State stated about allowing Trump to stay on the ballot. But before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel, and while today is not necessarily a nerdy video, it is one that affects nerd culture going forward, because it affects all culture going forward. And if we don't have a safe democracy, well, we're probably not going to get to watch the newest anime on Netflix, because the country will cease to exist. So hit that subscribe button, and let's talk about California Department Secretary of State to allow Trump on the GOP presidential primary ballot. I must be better. Now, there's quite a few backhanded compliments in this story. In fact, I wouldn't even call them compliments so much so as just backhanded statements of fact. But again, broken clocks twice a day, you know the old adage. California Secretary of State Shirley Weber said that she must be better than Trump. And you know what? Regardless of her reasoning, regardless of her statements, I can at least respect the fact that of all states, California is the one that is stating, you know what, we're gonna follow the law. For once, but that's still following the law, there's a first time for everything. California Secretary of State Shirley Weber will include former President Trump on her state's primary ballot despite pressure to remove the Republican presidential frontrunner. Weber argued that while she finds the former president's actions abhorrent and disturbing and an attack on democracy, she feels obligated to follow the rule of law and allow Trump on her state's primary ballot, which is absolutely rich coming from a country or a state in the country that just demolishes the law all the time, allows people on the streets to openly defecate, and is now so much cares for the rule of law so little they are giving health insurance to illegal immigrants. But you know what? Again, baby steps, we'll take them where we can get them. At least they're not trying to play the card that Maine and Colorado are playing, that Trump is being removed under the 14th Amendment due to insurrection, despite never even been charged with insurrection. So yeah, you know what? Consistency, I'll at least give them that. But at the same time, if I believe in this democracy that is there, I have to basically continue to abide by the rule of law. And for me to not to do that, then I am no better than Trump, Weber told the Los Angeles Times on Friday. Now, the way they're categorizing Trump here, I'd be no better than him if I also didn't follow the rule of law. Well, you gotta tell me, what law did he break? Because once again, he hasn't been charged with anything. But again, the result is a good result. The result is Trump staying on the ballot. So you might not like the fact that she's talking this way and that she's bad-mouthing your boy, but at the end of the day, I can at least appreciate the outcome, even if the road there is kind of a ridiculous road. I must be better than Trump, the Secretary of State. I must be better than Trump, the Secretary of State stated. And you know what? They're going to have this big, bold quote. They're going to try and make it angry at her, but I don't see the point. Yeah, there's probably going to be individuals on certain sides of the political camp that just throw shade at the way that she was speaking. And is it annoying? Yeah. Is it anything different than we've seen in plenty of other, candidates or people in office speak before about individuals on the other side? No, not at all. And that's why I'm not particularly worried about it. But we're going to continue here because it says Weber also admitted the office worked for months with other state and local officials to figure out if there were legal grounds to remove Trump from the state's primary ballot. Now that's interesting because if this is to be true, if we were to take this as what it says, then she did in fact look for avenues to take Trump off the ballot. And apparently they weren't able to find any because he's still there. They're going to follow the rule of law, which makes me wonder, what did Maine find? What did Colorado find? Now, if you're watching me, and I know you're doing so because you're an intelligent, well-thought-out individual who's probably also pretty good-looking, they found nothing. The fact of the matter is, they're doing some completely inane and flat-out illegal things in removing him from the ballot. But at least we see California not doing that. We all know this is a sham. We know this is going to be overturned probably by the Supreme Court. But there is the chance that that's not actually going to work, considering the Supreme Court very well might say, well, it's up to the states. Does that mean that Trump would then have to be charged with insurrection in those states? Again, using the 14th Amendment as their reasoning for getting him off the ballot, that's a very dicey way to go about it. Following the deliberation, Weber said that in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, it was determined that the state constitution does not give her authority to remove Trump from the ballot. Imagine that! A Democrat in California stating that they don't have the authority to do something? Like, I'm genuinely confused and maybe even concerned about the route that California is going. Because they're not saying and doing this stuff out the goodness of their hearts. They didn't just wake up one morning and say, you know what? We're going to decide to follow the law today. We've never really tried that in this state before, but let's give it a go. Let's see how it shakes out. I mean, we only had one of the greatest communist leaders in Xi Jinping here just the other day, and he probably gave us accolades on how, communistically we run our state. Let's see what it's like to be democratic for a spell. You know they're not waking up thinking that. So I want to report on this as if it's all sunshine and rainbows. We get to see California actually following the law. But maybe it's just the conspiracy part of my lizard brain that makes me think they've got other plans. This is purely to save face, and I don't want to spend too much time getting all tinfoil hatty, but it does make you wonder, especially when you remember some of the vile things that this woman right here has said about Trump and has said about the Republican Party. If I recall correctly, it's just said about white people in general. It's just a very interesting time. I can't recall any of the quotes offhand. I covered them in the past, and if I haven't, I'm sure if you're watching this, you've definitely watched other people who've covered what she said, but she's got a very recognizable, punchable face. She's like a Black Dolores Umbridge in politics. So, Harry Potter reference for those of you that didn't get that. Her decision to follow the rule of law came after Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kulnaki, or however you would say that is a ridiculous name, it looks very Hawaiian, sent her a letter on December 20th imploring her to explore every legal option to remove former President Donald Trump from California's 2024 presidential primary plot. So we have right here government collusions, government intending to talk to other members of the government to find reasons to keep Trump off the ballot. Now, I do not care if you don't like Donald Trump. I'm gonna be real. You can hate the dude all you want. Frankly, I'm a Vivek Ramaswamy guy, as I said in my video yesterday. But at the end of the day, I am also a freedom guy. I'm a guy that believes in our democracy. I'm a guy that believes in the rule of law and the way we do things. So if you have, like Lieutenant Governor, again, Eleni Kounalakis, maybe I did a little bit better that time. Who knows? Maybe she'll see this video and she'll write in the comments that I'm such a moron, but at least, I got her name right. Who's to say? If you see individuals that are high up in the government colluding with other branches or high up in the government to try and keep the presidential frontrunner off of the ballot, then we at this point no longer have a democracy. So why is it that this individual, Shirley Weber, who loathes Trump, would just decide out of the blue to follow the rule of law? Again, there's something doesn't sit well with me, even though I agree with the outcome. In a follow-up letter to Kounalakis, Weber said that she must place the sanctity of democratic elections above partisan politics. Why stop now? You've literally made partisan politics not only your entire personality, but the entire identity of the state of California. This is why I think that there has to be something bigger going on. This is such an out-of-character moment. Like, if Luke Skywalker, if Vader decided to say, "Luke, I'm your father," and Luke was like, "Yeah, bro, I kind of figured." Would that not be quite the out-of-character statement? You'd be like, what the hell happened in this movie? All of a sudden, things are just not right. That's what I'm getting here. I'm getting Luke acting like a surfer boy, acknowledging he already knew Vader was his father. It's just so out of character, you feel like you're living in a cartoon. As California's chief elections officer, I'm the steward of free and fair elections in the democratic process, Weber wrote. I must place the sanctity of these elections above partisan politics. Now, again, Maine and Colorado didn't do it. So, do they have something on you? Does the GOP maybe have some information? Do you guys have some backup plans? Because you would think they could just follow what Maine and Colorado have done. Now, granted, Colorado, that's being, at least for now, stalled. It's to the point, the Colorado GOP, if I recall, has taken this to the Colorado Supreme Court, and therefore the motion is stalled until after the ballots have already been printed. So, it doesn't really matter. Maine, it's a little bit more contentious there. We had someone in Maine saying effectively the same thing as Weber here, stating that they believe in the sanctity of the democracy, and that's why they can't allow Trump to run because of the insurrection. I almost said resurrection. The insurrection. And this individual in Maine was also shown in photos cozying up to Biden and Obama. So, not exactly impartial here. Weber hit back at Kounalakis, saying that her team used every means possible to investigate the legality of removing Trump from the state's primary ballot. And if they could find no legal method to do that, they could find no legal way to do that, wouldn't that imply Trump's innocence? Wouldn't that imply Trump did nothing wrong? Again, when, I remind you, Trump has never been charged of an insurrection. Whether you like the guy or not, shouldn't you at least want a free and fair election? Is your fear of mean tweets so vast that you want to bend and break the rules that have governed our country since its founding because the dude with the spray tan and the bad haircut makes you sad on the internet sometimes? That's where we're at in this country. I'm not sure why the lieutenant governor says use every means possible, because we've been doing that. So she's outright admitting, yeah, we have been trying to do this. I haven't shared that information with her because she hasn't asked me. And again, this woman, she just looks so just bitter and angry. Governor Gavin Newsom agreed with Weber's sentiment, saying last week that we defeat candidates at the polls. Now, Gavin Newsom, that's where my mind goes to. That's why I'm drawn to thinking, okay, they've got another play here. Because we all know that Biden's not getting the nomination. Newsom is going to, in some way, shape, or form, get the nomination. And you're probably going to get Newsom v. Trump. Unless they're able to keep Trump off the ballots, then you get Newsom v. DeSantis. That's, that's the way that very many of us who are following this political gamble, thinks that things are going. However, let's say it does end up being Newsom versus Trump. Yeah, there's actually a chance that Newsom could win that. I mean, the dude is intelligent, despite being an absolute monster, charismatic, despite being an absolute demon. I mean, there's just a lot going for him in the general public that they don't know about, that he can very well turn on Trump and make things sound pretty and then get us into an even worse situation than we're already in. So by him saying we defeat candidates through the polls, that's going to get a lot of people excited, get a lot of people happy. Hey, look at that. This California senator believes that they can do this the good way, the legal way. They don't even need to use dirty, underhanded tricks to beat Trump. I like a candidate that could do that. In fact, I'm going to vote for him. That's what I think this behind-the-scenes stuff is. They're not actively trying to get Trump off the ballot because instead they're using a far smarter tactic. They're using the tactic of, let's leave him on the ballot and just say that we're good enough to beat him on our own through our shining liberal democracy. That's going to just win people's hearts and minds without us even having to take him off the ballot. And you know what? I respect that. I completely disagree and think that you're an absolute evil monster, like I said, but I respect the mind games you're playing with the public. That's some true politician behavior right there. There is no doubt that Donald Trump is a threat to our liberties and even our democracy, Newsom said in a statement. But in California, we defeat candidates at the polls. Everything else is a political distraction, Newsom said. A liberal using terms like political distraction. I thought those colloquialisms were reserved exclusively for the rhinos. Yeah, all in all, I did want to share this bit of good news about the way our democracy is going and how California, again, broken clock twice a day, actually is doing something correct, but I can't help but be afraid that there is something else on the horizon. There's a reason that they did this. This is a very calculated move, it seems like, because again, we've all been following the destruction of California since, at least 2014, just hoping that an earthquake would happen and it would break off and fall into the ocean. Well, that hasn't happened yet, and now we're this much closer to Trump being removed from ballots all over the country. And of all states to leave him on, California is not one that anyone would have guessed. That should worry you. That should put a little bit of a tinfoil hat on, but also celebrate the victory while you have it. Those are my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. Like I said, today's news wasn't particularly nerdy. In fact, this was just flat out political, but look, sometimes things happen, you just gotta cover them, nerdy or not. I mean, this is literally about the future of our country, and even if you don't like Donald Trump, again, I hope you at least want the future of our country to be one where we all agree that we should follow the legal process. And factually speaking, as it stands right now, there is nothing in a legal manner that Trump has been charged with that would keep him off the ballots. You might not like facts, but, well, that's what they are. Other than that, you can check me out for nerdy news every single other day, where I cover things like anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Also, check me out on Instagram at WordsOfParadise_Leon, and remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.